Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the northeast corner of the map, playing in blue, we've got Beasty QT playing as the Byzantines. And his opponent in the southwest playing in red, we've got Louis MT playing as the Jushi Legacy. Welcome everyone to Coastal Cliffs. And you might be wondering, I introduced the player in the northeast as Beasty, but it says random. Yep, that is the case. He's playing random civilization these days, trying to work his way up to rank 1. Playing random civilizations. Either way, hope you guys are having a great morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're on the world. And if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you're having an extra special day. We're going to be having live streams on Twitch these days as well. So we're casting this one live. So welcome in all the Twitch viewers. Thank you for hanging out. We've got the Byzantines versus the Jushi Legacy. Definitely an interesting matchup, especially on this map, Coastal Cliffs. Like, you might be wondering, well, what's the big deal? It's just like a mini dry Arabia. And yeah, you're kind of right. It's kind of been chopped a little bit. Now, whilst there is fish here to be looked at, that's all you can do. You can only look at them. You can't eat them. You can't gather them. The cliffs, I'm afraid, you can't venture out onto them. So there's no dock play, there's no water play on this map. Really, you might wonder, what's the purpose of it then? Well, what it does, it really narrows this map. And in many ways, it kind of adds a bit of spice to it. Especially if you're thinking about civilizations that have a heavy focus on cavalry. The narrowness of the map means that there's less angles to attack from, and so cavalry is not necessarily always a play on this map. What it does mean that the games usually tend to last quite a long time with heavy infantry masses. Which, by the way, could be really interesting. You're the Byzantines that have a great army composition, by the way. Longbowmen, Limitane, even javelin throws Limitane, anything with Limitane that's infantry based could be really powerful. You got the Jushi Legacy that are no strangers to infantry as well. Palace Guards and the Chukanu. Available to them in the feudal age without having the Song Dynasty. It's just the Tang Dynasty they need. And I'm kind of curious to see how this one pans out. You've got the Byzantines with a really strong economy, all focused really around about the cistern. The fact that it obviously gives you the extra 10% gather rate on villages is pretty strong, and it does scale, of course. The more cisterns you have connected with aqueducts, the higher the water level, the higher the gather rate. But more importantly, it scales really nicely with the military production to go alongside it. It's one thing having economy, it's another thing having that economy pumping into units. And this one helps you with both. It's going to be the Grand Winery landmark of choice. No surprises there, really. The Imperial Hippodrome is a great landmark overall for the Byzantines, but it's just really falling out of fashion. The bonuses you get out of the Grand Winery is incredible. 60% extra olive oil gives you units, mercenary units, pretty quickly. Maybe not as... It's not going to be as quick as getting units paying for them full price with horsemen from the Imperial Hippodrome, but hey... It's effectively a free resource you're getting alongside your olive groves and berries. And so it really scales well to the mid to late game. You could really pump out mercenaries, especially on this kind of map, which does typically tend to go quite long in terms of, timing into the game. It makes a lot of sense to go for the Grand Winery. On the other side of things, it's going to be the Meditation Gardens. Again, no real surprises there for the Jushi Legacy. And a pretty nice spot as well, by the way. Going to get the berries, gold, and the wood there for this landmark. What I'm kind of interested to see is what the Jushi Legacy decide to do here, because I'm a really big believer in favor of the Tang Dynasty being an extended thing. So staying in the Tang Dynasty for quite a while until you want to go up to the Castle Age, taking advantage of that, because yeah, sure, the Tang Dynasty gives you a good discount on the Feudal Age landmark, but what about the Castle Age? It's really significant there too. And so it gives them a really powerful time to the Castle Age, and then look to get those relics quite quickly, especially when you factor in they get the Shaolin monks that move pretty fast and they can even attack. They can start to pick up those relics quickly. The Byzantines, on the other hand, I mean, sure, they can have a really good Castle Age timing, but when it comes down to Jushi Legacy, their fast castle is incredibly strong. Scout heading across the map, just finding out what he's going to be up against. He's not found anything just yet. There's no production buildings just yet for the Byzantines. Oh, there it is. It's going to be a stable opening, and then quite possibly a mercenary house afterwards. We'll have to see. Now with the Jushi Legacy, going to be opting for a stable as well, actually supervising it, so looking to get those horsemen out quite quickly. So to be fair, we've talked about the cavalry not necessarily being a focus on this, but I guess it makes sense if you're both going for it. I mean, ultimately, getting out on the field quite quickly is going to be important. He's really... Wait, Louis really massing them up. He's got 2 already, and... Call the town bell for a second there, possibly a misclick. Suspect... I mean, I wonder how many he's going to make, actually. It's kind of unexpected, to be fair. Kind of a cool play. Going out for the middle. Gonna look to try and snipe that scout. There is the mercenary house. I wonder if he's going to go for the longbowman contract. Quite possible for the Byzantines and Beasty. About to snipe it. Should get it in the end. Could have body block a little bit maybe there with the scout. Might get away with it actually. If he gets close enough to the town centre. He body blocks with a little bit with the horseman. That's a great play if he can keep it safe. Oh, he just about loses it there, Beasty. Now, you might think it's just a scout, but actually it's actually really important because it's going to give him a lot of, well, a lack of vision, really, to see what the follow-up will be for Louis MT. I mean, he can always use his horseman, to be fair, but then it means that he's got a little bit less vision, has to get quite close before we can see what's going on. Yeah, we're starting to see now the walls coming up, and once they do, that will really start to close off the map. Alright, he did go for the Western Mercenary contract, so we'll have access to longbows now, the Byzantines. It's mostly just horseman versus horseman at this point. Adding in a barracks, so, okay, it's going to be a bit of a mixture, right? So it's going to focus on the ranged attack units from the Mercenary House, and then get the Limitane and Stable. For the horsemen, and of course the Limitane coming out of the barracks. Well, I'm kind of curious to see, he's adding in a barracks of his own. So we'll give him access to... and an archery range, so you're definitely going to be extended feudal age. It's kind of cool. They're going to be battling it out pretty heavily. Then you have to kind of ask the question is, well, who does that favour? So there's one thing about winning fights in the feudal age with better units, but I mean, unit quality is kind of similar. Of course, Limitane may be a little bit better at dealing with things with their shield wall ability, and the longbow with extra range, so possibly the Byzantines have a slight edge there. Although Chukunu will have something to say about that. Possibly sprinkling in a couple of palace guards as well. That's exactly what's happening. But behind all that, something else to consider is the economy. The Byzantines are slowly scaling. We didn't notice the second water level 2, the second cistern. Going to be giving an extra 4% gather rate, so 14% in total. Does the Jushi Legacy have to kind of just rely on the meditation gardens at this point? Starting to get all those all-important blacksmith upgrades. Steeled Arrow for the Chukunu. I've got to say, Steeled Arrow, I mean, the thing is, when you think about Chukunu versus Limitane, I feel like you kind of have to favour the Chukunu if they're in good numbers. It's taking the engagement here. Couple longbowmen added on in, and yeah, sure, Louis MT has to back away. Extra longbowmen just tilting that fight a little bit. Going to retreat to the Palace Guards and Chukunu. I think Palace Guard Chukunu could be a really strong army composition actually for the Jushi Legacy, I've got to say. But we are starting to see that bit of switch into, you know, infantry, mass infantry. But you can see how many longbows is getting, quite a hefty number of them. 10 so far. It's all because of the olive oil and the Grand Winery. I've got to say, relic positions are quite nice for both players. I mean, it's pretty fair and even, right? It's not always the case on certain maps. Sometimes they're a little bit skewed to one player than the other. Pretty fair, though, today. He's adding in more barracks and archer ranges. Okay, Louis MT really going for it. Definitely going for an extended feudal age. That's a lot of production. Louis trying to get a bit of a raid around the right side with his horseman, keeping them active. And whilst the map is narrow, he's still trying to get some value. Might even attack that gold vein. Potentially could get some value. Beasty just hanging out down the middle, just in case he's pushed off for things in the middle. Beasty with good reaction times. He recognises that threat. Sends a couple of Limitane to deal with it. In the meantime, though, the Jushi Legacy very, very walled up. One thing that's a bit of a concern on the map, though, is the stone positions. They do actually have one stone, actually. I don't know if that was always the case on this map, but I always had to thought that, you know, the stones were always usually farther oh god, words are difficult for me today. Usually a lot further forward. Either way, Palace Guards tanking against Limitane. Longbow's trying to snipe out as many of those Chukunus as possible. A couple of Spearmen actually added in for the Jushi Legacy. Works really well. Palace Guards, though, will rip through the Limitane, even with shield wall ability. I mean, the thing is, the Chukunu will get a little bit less damage out of that, but the Palace Guards, they do what they need to do, and coming in with Horsemen as well. Maybe he's overstepped here a little bit here, Beasty. Does have a couple of Spearmen, but the Spearmen go down to the Chukunu. That'll allow the Horsemen to get free reign on those longbows, and those longbows have to get out of there, but they are not the fastest unit on the field. He's going to lose everything here, Beasty. It's a really good snipe out there for the Jushi Legacy. One thing to bear in mind, like, the Byzantines actually play a lot like the English do, in the way that the mechanics of it really is about keeping a large massive army and the fight snowball, right? Like, if you get caught out of position like this, you get clean sweeped. And that's just what happened. It does come in with a couple of reinforcements though. Horseman numbers starting to dwindle, and reinforcements will save a couple of those longbows, but a lot of damage has been done. And you can see the army value. And whilst the destruction value actually not too terribly off between each other, the army value a lot more significantly higher for Louis MT at the moment. Definitely a good initial engagement for him, no doubt about it. But certainly, things can snowball quite quickly with the Byzantines. With this particular army composition, right, it gives you lots of vibes of the English, with longbows and, well, in this case, Limitane rather than spearmen. And I would be pretty surprised, actually, if we do see any more cavalry coming out for the Byzantines. I think it's turned into a map now where it is going to be mass infantry, which I'm kind of curious. It feels like it does kind of suit the Jushi Legacy in a way, with the Palace Guards and Chukunu. Just moving out to the board. 2,000 food there to be had, by the way, with a good outpost position. It's something that actually Beasty might look to try and challenge, right? You probably won't want to give that away for free. Torches came out for a second. Palace Guard's going to narrow down a little bit. He decides to head one back for now, though. No real reason to engage it. No reason to be impatient. Can look to get arrow slits first, or hand cannon slits. That's going to be important to have. It's going to be tough for Beasty to push without siege, actually. So he's going to go to the castle stage with Golden Horn Tower. They have a really good time on the castle stage there for Beasty, actually. He's going to get ready, possibly for Varangian Guards, which I kind of like, actually. It's going to counter, in some ways, the Chuk... Well, I mean, it kind of would counter the Chukunus. Chukunus will still do a decent job against them. So it's going to go pretty well against the Palace Guards. It's going to be the Shaolin Monastery for the Jushi Legacy. It's going to be coming down to maybe a relic race, actually, at this point. This one, obviously, very clearly favourable for Beasty, and this one clearly favourable for Louis MT. It's going to be about three of them in the middle. Alright, Louis MT just about to move out. Possibly look to get some kind of control in the middle. And there's that castle stage. By the way, the timing on that, surprisingly, is actually a lot faster for Louis MT. Is because of the fact that the villagers build a lot faster. I didn't actually quite check how many villages he had building it compared to Beasty, but either way, the timing is good for him. The great thing for the Jushi Legacy, though, going up to the next stage with the Shaolin Monastery, he can start to produce the Shaolin Monk straight away. There's the first one queued up. Beasty, on the other hand, will need to actually drop down a monastery before he can get any religious units out. So it gives a good timing window for Louis MT, especially with the control he has now with the number of units. I gotta say, in terms of unit production, it really scales so well for the Jushi Legacy. They've got the ability to supervise, and there it is. It's actually supervising the upgrades as well. That's the big power spike that the Jushi Legacy and the Chinese get. The ability to supervise upgrades, it's incredibly powerful. It's not to be underestimated, because with the similar sort of timing there for Beasty, like he's got to buy time for his upgrades. Although he's got the veteran, to be fair, it doesn't need to buy any time, he's got them already. But to be fair, the upgrades are pretty quick overall. He didn't have his army close enough. The static defenses bought time for Beasty, but I mean, not enough time maybe here, because the Chukunu are absolutely ripping through those Limitane. This is not looking good for Beasty, actually. There's a couple of longbowmen there, but they need to retreat. There's no meat shield, no front line for them. Villagers backing away from gold, and I think this is a big problem, actually, for Beasty. If he loses access to gold, that becomes a lot trickier, right? Because you want the heavy armoured units, and you need gold for that. Adding in a couple of crossbows here, Beasty. Looks like he's transitioning into crossbows, Varangian Guards, but he needs them now. And the veterans he comes in for the Chukunu, and they're doing all sorts of damage. It's Good 4 villages so far, and that might start to escalate. It's keeping a lot of the economy idled, actually. Almost half. The bigger concern for Beasty here, with these units camping on the production, when Beasty does trickle out units, like, they kind of get picked apart. But he's starting to escalate a little bit now. He's going to have to back away the Chukunu a little bit because of those Varangian guards. He'll still take a bit of a trade. Around the back, Scout just keeping an eye on things. You can see now the trickle of units from the red player, Louis MT, is kind of stopped. He's picked up one of the relics already. He's bringing away another one as well. Now, unfortunately, the user interface is actually bugged, so it should usually have a +1 down at the bottom left. It should have 1 like in red and then +1 because he's picked up another relic. But for some reason, the Shaolin monks don't really register with that. Where is he off to anyway? Yeah, okay, he's changed that just as well, because you'd be wondering, like, the monastery's the other way, my dude. The monastery was the other way. So that timing for the Jushi Legacy, it's super important. We talked about them, you know, leveraging the Tang Dynasty to get there. Made it a lot cheaper to get there. He's going to have to back away here, Louis MT. Can't really engage this just yet. Too many units. Beasty has survived for now. One thing to bear in mind, though, super late game, like super late game, the Byzantines possibly are quite favoured because of the fact that they get olive oil as an extra resource, and it, you know, they can leverage that into making really premium units. Well, even, you know, the mercenaries, for one. Depending on the landmark he chooses, he can opt for siege units as well with just pure olive oil. The Jushi Legacy, on the other hand, they're going to have to rely on the gold that's on the map and the relics that he's got, which, to be fair, he's got 3 relics, so that will definitely put him in a good spot. Actually sends a Lancer in the back, and Liam will get some good value from that. Get a couple of villages at least. And I'll post on the berries to protect the meditation gardens, but also the berries, of course. And with 3 relics in the bag, I've got to say, that's a really good haul for Louis MT. I love the way he's played this, right? He's taken the ones that were a bit more exposed. And he's going to end up with 4 relics in total. Has to get another monastery just to fit them all in. It's going to be a 4 relic game for the Jushi Legacy. Definitely got the upper hand for now. But I think the super late game, if the Olive Grove transition is done smoothly, which it seems like it has, that's going to really pay dividends in the long run. In this game for sure. Speaking of which, there's not too much of a farming transition. He did add in a second town centre though, Louis, so he will be scaling that village account. Palace guards diving on in. Now, if the Varangian guard numbers do dwindle, that's going to leave those longbows incredibly exposed. A couple of Lance Ganesha though added in. They could do all sorts of damage with the splash damage. He needs to take care of them. He does. They are like glass cannons after all, so he picks them apart with the Chukunu. Only 1 Varangian guard remains and gets sniped. And overall, I feel like Louis MT could possibly win that, but there are reinforcements coming around the back, so it feels a little bit less, confident about it. Nesta Bees. I think with the Nesta Bees, Louis will be fine. Wait, is he diving this Beastie? I'm not so sure. He's going a bit too close for comfort. Does go spread formation, but he's going to lose a couple for sure. Well, the fact there's a Shaolin monk in there fighting too. Beastie starting to regroup, bringing the units back home. Down in the middle. Actually decapping the sacred sites as well. It's powerful that he's getting the extra gold from this on the west side of that map. The extra sacred site gold. Every bit of gold is welcome. Pascal's chasing, but it's going to be a bit more of a tug of war affair now. Like, it's going to be a case where Beastie should be quite comfortable as he builds up forces again to push on in. The sector is happening, and if he can snipe at the Nesta Bees, that could be huge. It's going to be the Xianglang Tower, so it's going to go for the Song Dynasty, which is actually going to allow him for a bit of an easier farming transition. Makes the farms cheaper, right? But I've got to say, Beastie, despite having lost the relics, he could have a good window of opportunity in the next 5-10 minutes, and it's all coming down to the farming transition, right? So food-wise, the Jushi Legacy are going to stall a little bit. He's going to need plenty of wood. He's got plenty of wood in the bank, to be fair, so should plonk down a whole bunch of farms very quickly. He's on the deer camp on the right side, but once that runs out, he's going to need those farms desperately. On the other hand, Beastie's got the Olive Grove transition fairly well established. So the food income will be smooth for him. In fact, let's take a look at it. Pretty even Stevens on that, but about to escalate quite heavily with the granaries and the plentiful farms being placed by the Jushi Legacy. Speaking of which, Beasty recognizes that food could become a problem for the Jewish legacy at this kind of timing. 20 minutes into the game, and gonna try. Oh yeah, okay. He noticed it in the end. I'm not sure what gave it in the way. It was just lightning speed reactions by Louis. I gotta say, the things that the Jewish legacy do, it feels like the power spikes are very quick, right? Castle Age, they get supervision of their buildings, they get supervision to pump out units. The village is building fast as well. Like the farming transition, yeah, fair enough. It's wood heavy, although with the Song Dynasty obviously a bit cheaper. But they build fast, which is impressive. Now, it did say 75 there, but that's because I'm toggled on to Beasty's position. If I switch that, it would change. In fact, let's do that now. Yeah, it's 53 wood. It does change the color though. It's a bit of a visual bug on the Capture Age user interface. So yeah, 53 wood instead of 75. Decent savings for sure. Dare I say the Jushi Legacy might be thinking about Imperial Age? Surely not. It does have a good number of units, although a lot of it's tied into siege with those 3 Nesta Bees. Beasty going full infantry, it seems. Tries to get the walls up, but that won't happen in the end. He's got a bit of a gap on the right side, which he's going to have to address because there's golden berries here that we want to take. And of course, Beasty recognizes that, right? This is where the key influential area is for the Jushi Legacy. He has to keep control of this if he can. There's even deer stack here. Beasty though, has he fallen into a bit of a trap? I mean, there's 3 Nesta Bees. They could do all sorts of damage in that fight if they get. Yeah, they're about to do it. He needs to get a good clean hit on it. Vingegaarzo diving on in. Louis, you need to bring those siege engines back if you can, or they'd be fine actually. There's crossbows. Those crossbows absolutely chew through the Vingegaards, and Shaolin Monk is going on heavy with his stick. Does get sniped in the end. Nesta Bees get another fire off, and this is not looking too great for Beasty. I mean, he's got massive units, I think, back at home down in the middle. Oh, that's a bit of a big raid. But he's have to back away. Beasty does have both sacred sites. That could be a potential win condition for him if he can keep them active and safe and secure. Nesta Bees deploy, spread formation. Allow the longbows to survive a little bit longer. But could this be a bit of a distraction? Is Beasty just trying to keep those Nesta Bees at home? It's better that they're home rather than in the middle. He's starting to build a bit of a force down the middle. But you can see the food income had dropped quite significantly whilst we were waiting for the farms to kick on in. But yeah, they're going to be kicking on in very soon. He's trying to micro down those Varangian guards. The question is now, do the veteran Juganu, is it something he wants to really continue making? I mean, to be fair, they're still shredding. They're not too terrible. He's trying to get as much stone as he can here, Louis. Possibly thinking about a keep. I'll tell you who's thinking about a keep. It's got to be Beasty, right? Is that 1,000 stone? He's got enough for a keep. The question is, where is he thinking about placing it down onto? Possibly a sacred site, possibly a gold. We are heading to the 24th minute, the mark of the game, where in this particular map, you do start to see both players venturing to the middle of the map. They've got to secure those 8,000 gold veins tiles. In fact, I don't think they have 8,000 on this map. They don't actually. It's only 4,000 tiles. Which actually makes the Byzantines actually a lot stronger, right? Because if the Jushi Legacy did have access to 8,000 gold tiles, well, I mean, they've got longer to win the game, right? But it makes olive oil become a little bit more important and more relevant a little bit earlier than you expect compared to many other maps. Kind of curious to think about that, actually. It would also favour civilizations like the English that get enclosures, or any civilization that gets passive gold, to be fair. I mean, we do see passive gold coming in from tax collection from the Jushi Legacy. Not necessarily something we think about often, but it is there. But I just have to back away. Oh, that's not ideal. Now, if he does delete the keep, he won't get the full refund. He did suffer a little bit from the fireworks from the Nesta Bees, and they're continuing. Beasty, oh, this is always the hardcore, right? Does he delete it? Does he not? He's going to come with military around the back. He's being raided with a Lancer again. Yet again. Oh, he's going to dive on the siege. He gets one, and he should get all 3 actually, Nesta Bees. The keep might go up in the end. But unfortunate there for Louis, but behind all of this, he's going to get the Temple of the Sun. He's on his way. This Lancer is still alive. It's still getting value. That's good. Oh, wait, what? Is that... Wait, what? Huh? Was the Lancer not attacking the villager? I'm sure he hit the villager like 3 times, did no damage. That was super weird. How's it going, Paris? Do welcome on in. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Walls are up though. Oh, wait, not fully, but yeah, it's still there. You'd have to burn through that. But there's that Imperial Age now for the Juicy Legacy. That's going to give a powerful spike. We talked about it earlier in the cast, right? If he supervises the upgrades, they didn't get a military academy. He's going to really start pumping. Holy moly. The upgrades to his palace guards are going to come in 50 seconds. It's not that quick in the end, but I don't think that's being supervised. Beasty, he's not really anywhere near that Imperial Age, which is kind of a concern. He's at water level 4, so good villager gather rate on these guys. 22%. Gets the stone, gets a keep in the middle. Beasty trying to break his way through. I mean, all of it comes down, a lot of it comes down to that delayed keep for Beasty, right? He got it up in the end, so we'll have access to even more stone. But it did cause him some problems. Gets surrounded, does pick off a villager or two, might even pick off an Imperial official. It's a bit of an oversight there for Louis. I mean, he can make more, of course, but not ideal losing them. He's still losing some villagers. Palace guards will clear that up in the end. But I love the play, right? I think this is actually kind of concerned. Like, there may be one thinking behind this is that Beasty's keeping the army back home for Louis, but and to maybe allow them to get to the Imperial Age. Doesn't seem like he's spending everything here, Beasty. He's pumping out units. But the concern is he's up against elite units now, and that is a big tech advantage. Beasty, he's got to find a way to get to the Imperial Age. It feels like, though, if he continues to make military units like this and engage, he could be hard stuck in the Castle Age, because he can't afford to go to the Imperial Age if he's taking active fights and having to replace the army, of course. Sacred sites, both of them captured by Beasty. A little bit less secure than it was last time. He's taking the engagement. Palace guards getting on that front line. Varingigals tanking for now. Might lose a Springald. He's going to go for a keep here. Beasty to control that sacred site. Maybe that's his win condition. He feels like sacred site could be an option for him. Trebuchet unpacking on that outpost. Good number of longbows, but they're only barely tickling these elite palace guards. And it's Castle Age units versus Imperial Age units after all. Whilst the numbers definitely favour Beasty, I mean, ultimately Louis MC's not taking a terrible trade, although he does need to back away now. The longbow's getting some good ranged attack on them. But he's mined out most of the stone anyway. He's going to retreat back to the keep and get a siege workshop. So he achieved what he needed to achieve there, Louis, by mining the stone. That's going to be walling up on the east side. Just extend it, maybe, or maybe delete it, actually. Maybe not. Jedi the Great, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome on in. Trying to get the extra bit of vision. The kind of curious thing is that it's turning to a bit of a stalemate, right? And it feels like things do favour the Byzantines. What's kind of concerning for the Byzantines, though, now, is he's going to go up to the next stage. And to be fair, though, he has got a good standing army. I think he should be okay to get to the next stage. The reason why is because, well, ultimately, when you go to the next stage, you want 3 things. You want static defenses to buy you time, you want a standing army to buy you time, and you want to try and keep the enemy army away from yourself as much as possible to allow yourself getting the tech ups. And I feel like Beasty's got all 3 parameters, so it should be okay and safe to go to the next stage. But, you know, you never know. Some good fights for the Juicy Legacy could turn things. It's a bit of a Springald war, 2 versus 2. I mean, I think Beasty, he's actually going to come out on top of that, surprisingly enough. He might even lose the other one. Varingigals diving on top of that. And those longbows getting a lot of value. I mean, just to think, this number of longbows, 30 of them on the field here right now, not free, but, you know, funded by olive oil entirely. It's super powerful for the Byzantines. Palace guards, they're going to try and chase this army away. Wait, did he stop the tech up? I thought he started teching up. Maybe he didn't start, actually. He's lacking in gold. He's been close to it. Cheers, Jedi the Great. Appreciate it, dude. Ah, snow gone now, Paris too? Well, I do prefer summer. That's actually a question for you guys on YouTube and Twitch. Which season do you enjoy the most? Spring, autumn, winter, summer? Palace guards going to be torching down the outpost. It does have mangonel placement. Goes down really fast there, by the way. Holy moly. Definitely fighting it over the middle. It's going to be the foreign engineering company, which is what we expected, right? So if he does bank up a decent amount of olive oil, he can fund in siege units for sure. Especially when you factor in gold is becoming a little bit less prominent on the map. There's a lot of springles though still there for the Juicy Legacy. Trying to break his way through. Stonewall's coming out. Oh, this is going to be interesting. We see this actually, we've seen this a lot of times with the English actually. Getting trebuchets and then getting Stonewalls in front to protect the trebuchets. Makes it really difficult for the Juicy Legacy to take care of that, and he might lose that keep if he's not got a solution against these trebuchets. And are camping behind the Stonewalls. Bear in mind, there is still 6 minutes on that timer, so this is kind of curious to see how Luemti tries to decap the sacred site. Palace Guards are going to, I mean, the walls aren't big enough. And he should lose. He's going to split off. Going to go for some of these springles and also the trebuchets. Should actually get all of it in the end. He does. God, those palace guards move so fast. Jeez. Let's have a couple of elite Landskaneshta, so we'll take them down eventually. But definitely a worthwhile trade, snapping those trebuchets. Not only in terms of the price of the units, but also the fact that it buys him time with his keep. He's got a bombard of his own to focus on this keep and Beasty. So we're going to come down to the sacred site victory. I think that's the win condition here for him. Doesn't have that much stone to recover or rebuild or repair though. That keep won't last for too much longer. Does have a keep on the right side to protect this sacred site, but obviously the battle is very much on this area here. But these are still Castle Age Varangian guards. They're being sacrificed, trying to go for the bombards. I'm not so sure if he even gets any of them. Fighting underneath the keep is not ideal. Does have a decent number of crossbows here, Beasty, to take out the palace guards. A couple of Landskaneshta as well, so we'll get some good damage out of there. But the siege just seems so much more superior for the Juicy Legacy. In fact, there is no siege over Beasty. He does lose the keep in the end. He's trying to hold that position as much as possible, coming in from the right side, mining as much stone as he possibly can, whilst he can. Oh, the longbows, they use the arrow volley. Look at the attack speed on those guys now. Villagers now being sacrificed by the Byzantines. Desperately trying to take out the bombards, but it's being repaired. The rate of repair on these siege engines is absolutely insane. He's going to lose these villagers, no doubt about it. He's got cannon placement, and he's desperately trying to take the bomb, but he doesn't quite manage it. The repairs comes out, and Beasty sacrificed all those villagers for a mission, and they failed in that mission. Elite Palace Guard's going to chop away the rest of them that are trying to retreat, and those guys are goners. Speaking of goners, these longbowmen, they do not want to fight in this position without meat shield in front of them. There's only 4.5 minutes on that timer. It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to achieve it though, the sacred site victory. Beasty has to go back to the drawing board. He does have a decent amount of olive oil, so can make siege. Bear in mind, he can get his own nest of bees. He's going to go for the Hui power first. Try and take down the trebuchets, but he's lost the stone wall, and it almost feels like he's losing a foothold in the game. The elite Varangian guards are in, going head to head against the elite palace guards. I mean, this is a fight that, to be fair, Beasty should win, although the Varangian guards turn their attention on the nest of bees. The sacred site has been decapped, unfortunately for Beasty, so he has to go back to the drawing board, back to square one. Varangian guards doing their best to take out bombards, but will Luemti repair? I don't think he has any villagers this time, so we'll lose one nest. He doesn't lose it in the end. The repairs do come on in for the nest of bees. Well, that's a big kick in the teeth. It's the second time this happened, with Beasty sacrificing units, but doesn't make them. It doesn't pay off in the end, and he is trying to rebuild that stone wall, but with the siege still there for Luemti, it feels like it's difficult to really keep that up. Without it fully built, oh god, the nest of bees on the villagers, that's not going to go up, I'm afraid, and it's just sunk cost in terms of stone now. And the bombards for the Juicy Legacy will break through. Beasty, he's struggling. Palace Guard's going to go on top of the longbows. There's not much of a meat shield, although having said that, from the back lines, there come the Varangian guards. Loses the Hui power. He's losing a lot of map positioning now, Beasty. He's under pressure. And he's going to move on further forward. Varangian guards do berserk their way on through, so might take out one or two nest of bees. Two if he's lucky. Doesn't even get the second one in the end, and god, it just, every fight doesn't seem to be going in his way here. Massive shot of the nest of bees on those longbows. And the big concern is those palace guards, they're starting to ramp up in numbers. Nest of bees again on the longbows. They back away for now. Are in spread formation, but they still take some big hits. Does lose one more nest of bees here, but still one more on the field, so that danger is still remaining for the Byzantine army. He's slowly being pushed further back. He's spending his olive oil. He's spending everything he can. He does still have a decent population count, to be fair, but it's just the army composition, right? Longbows They're great as an adjunct, as a secondary supportive unit, but they need something to deal with these palace guards effectively. He's got his Varangian guards adding in Limitane now. Because of course they're struggling on gold. I tell you that I say they're struggling on gold, but Louis not. He's mining it. But it does look like that's the last gold on the map. And it will be in the hands of Louis. And not that it matters too much, but he's going to lose his keep position. He's not protecting anything other than the sacred side, which he doesn't really have any control over at this point. He's going to lose it quick time. Okay, he's transitioned to veteran horseman. He's trying to get as many Varangian guards as he possibly can. He's still at 200 population though, believe it or not. It's kind of crazy. He's going to try and snap out Bombard, but the villager repairs again! It keeps the Bombard alive, although maybe it goes down eventually. We'll have to see. Oh, there's a disaster. Okay, it goes down in the end. But boy, oh boy, does Beasty have to work hard for it. Palace guards coming off the right, flanking on those longbows. Great positioning. Limitane trying to snap out even more siege, but villagers are repairing and buying so much time. The keep still just about alive, but he does have a royal cannon that's doing all sorts of damage, but it is being repaired. But it does go down in the end. Beasty's starting to get a bit more of a position on the map, but will it be enough? I mean, he's pumping out units. It's kind of crazy. He's fighting as much as he possibly can of this last gold. Limitane, they are a great late game unit, I've got to say. Very cost efficient in what they can do. Limitane need to brace against the horsemen. Horsemen diving on the longbows. Long mining the gold as much as he possibly can. Looking to rebuild that mining camp. But I've got to say, look at the raiding. This could be devastating. Villager count going to be plummeting soon, I think. But he does deploy Akritoi. He's going to fight this off. The Akritoi will give him extra bit of armor, extra bit of attack, and he's, to be fair, doing a decent job against the horsemen. But the big detail is keeping the economy idled, and he's killing villagers at the same time. He's getting a big push down the middle, though. It's worth it. He's sacrificing a couple of horsemen. The fact that villagers can fight this off is kind of crazy. Does have a couple of Limitane doused in on there, but he's making a push down the middle. All of a sudden, how Beasty turned this around. Losing that keep there for the Jushi Legacy was massive. This could be an absolute epic victory if he does win it. Ed's in the Streltsy, the premium unit of the Western Mercenary contract. I love that unit addition. And it's olive oil funded. That's the big deal. It feels like it's olive oil that's going to really get into the game. And Louis MT's struggling in a big way. The lack of gold, the lack of being able to make premium units is going to hurt him big time. Down to 17 military. Beasty, I think he's done it. He's come in with a big force. He's at 200 population. The ability for the Byzantines to really spam out units at the late game is absolutely phenomenal. Palace guards might take out a lot of the Limitane and might buy him some time, but look at this. The villagers, what are they up to? They're coming forward. They want that gold as much as they possibly can. The last bit of gold, the last bit of stone. To be fair, with that stone, that extra stone, he would be able to afford another keep. The big thing for Louis MT now is he's losing a lot of production. He doesn't have the wood to replace it all. He doesn't have the build power to replace it all. The villagers being idled massively on the west side. And he's going to start running out of wood. That's the bigger deal. It's not even so much gold as an issue, it's wood. There's the wood line that Louis MT was dependent on. I mean, to be fair, he's struggling on gold as well. But he's being idled on the farms, and Beasty causing untold damage. Production buildings on fire. And Beasty could possibly do this all day. I mean, he's got plenty of food coming on in. He's spending everything he's got. Does have a nest of bees. That needs to be sniped if he can. Yep, he's going to go straight for it. It won't be destined for this world for much longer. Although, might sneakily repair. No, he doesn't quite manage it. Finally, it's not a scenario where Beasty has to fight up against repairing siege. Oh, the Limitane. The horseman's definitely not going to be working in his favour here, Louis. He has to transition away from it. This Limitane raid might get a lot of value on the villagers once the horsemen are dead, although the palace guard's chasing on in, but down the middle, that leaves them exposed. He's just struggling to pump out units there, Louis. And the big concern is, how does he deal with his Limitane, right? In fact, I don't think he can. Like, he can't continue to make palace guards. He doesn't have the gold income for it, really. And then, what does he do about it? He can't really go for ranged units, archers, can't go for siege. The late game unit of the Limitane for the Byzantines It's starting to overrun. He still has a decent number of palace guards, 38, but after that, I think he must have traded in gold for gold, to be fair. The relics will help him, but I'm not so sure it's going to be enough to sustain a late game army. The farms, again, going to be idle. This is where it's going to really hurt for Louis. Not having food, not having gold. That means no palace guards. Constantly trickles on in. Now, Beasty has spent the stone on something. It might have been in placements. It's definitely not for a keep. He's had to move a farming economy and production on the west side, and I think if Beasty spots that, that might be his next target. Oh, well, it was a keep actually in the front. There it is. Right, take it back. There it is. We didn't see it on the minimap because the clump of blue. He's getting all the blacksmith upgrades that he needs now too. And that's going to compound the issue. Uh-oh. Louis, you've got to find an answer to mass Kaya siphons, and I love that play. He's going to end the game with Greek fire, it seems here, Beasty. He's not messing about. He's still affording a decent amount of palace guards though, surprisingly enough, I've got to say. I mean, hey, he's got 47 palace guards, not too shabby. Certainly the relics are coming in clutch, and also tax collection. It's got to be the tax collection. Yeah, it is. Limitanate can attack against palace guards. Does have a decent number of Streltsy. Here come the Kaya siphons though. Production build is about to go down. The massive melee mosh pit in the front. Limitanate tanking that front line, allowing the Streltsy to do what they would need to do behind it. And I mean, ultimately, the Byzantines will be happy with this trade, right? He's trading in units that don't cost gold for the units that do cost gold. Limitanate versus the palace guards. But it's just being summoned in to try and take out the bombard. The trouble is for Louis, behind all this, he's losing his production. And the big fight in the middle is something that Beasty should win. It takes a bit of time to torch down the bombards. It doesn't seem there's any villagers to repair just yet. Another flux of palace guards coming in. There are the villagers coming in to repair. He will get the repairs in time. The villagers will be sacrificed, not for the first time. Probably for like the 6th time now for Beasty. But what it has done has allowed him to make his way down to the middle. Streltsy on the back line of that army. Limitanate in good numbers as the front line. And he's still struggling to take out that bombard. Louis Empty's still buying a lot of time with this. But eventually it feels like the army will crumble. Look at the blue sea of units trickling on in. There it is. Louis Empty has a tap out. What a great game of Age of Empires 4. An absolute meat grinder. In times, it didn't seem like Beasty would win it, but he has found a way. He nearly always finds a way. Hope you guys enjoyed this casting game on YouTube. If you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.